Stop playing fair. Start dominating. The world isn't fair. The weak are consumed, and the strong devour them. You've been lied to your entire life. You've been told that being good will get you ahead, that hard work is all it takes, and that your intentions matter. That's a myth, a fairy tale designed to keep you compliant and easy to control. While you're busy playing by the rules, others are creating them. While you're waiting for your turn, others are taking what they want. They aren't smarter or more talented than you. They're just more ruthless. They understand the dark, predatory psychology of power. They know that the universe doesn't reward the righteous, it rewards the cunning. They know that niceness is a weakness and mercy is a liability. For centuries, power has operated on a battlefield of psychological warfare, and you've been fighting with a butter knife. Today, we're changing that. We're ripping off the bandages and revealing the open wound of human nature. This isn't a motivational speech, it's a field guide to becoming a predator in a world of prey. We're going to use the coldest, most brutal wisdom of Niccolò Machiavelli, not to make you a monster, but to make you a master. I'm going to give you 8 psychological laws that will transform you from someone who gets stepped on to someone who is feared, respected, and untouchable. This isn't for the faint of heart. Once you see the world for what it truly is, you can never go back. Once you taste this power, you'll never be able to play the victim again. The lie of fairness. You are your own prey. Forget fairness. It's a psychological trap, a sedative sold to keep you weak and predictable. Every time you wait for your turn, someone is cutting the line. Every time you expect reciprocity, someone is exploiting your predictable behavior. Your belief in fairness makes you vulnerable. It makes you a target for those who understand that in the real world you get what you take, not what you deserve. Machiavelli said, "Men should either be treated generously or destroyed, because they take revenge for slight injuries, but for heavy ones they cannot." This is the core principle of psychological dominance. When you wound someone's ego slightly, they plot revenge. When you break their spirit completely, they accept their place. The biggest mistake you can make is taking half measures. You give weak pushback to a strong personality. You set soft boundaries with an aggressor, and you try to reason with someone who only understands power. This creates the worst outcome. You look weak, and you create an enemy who sees you as a target they can eventually defeat. Instead of arguing, demonstrate your authority. When someone disrespects you, don't explain why they're wrong. Show them with your actions that there are immediate, severe consequences for their behavior. You don't negotiate with those who don't respect your worth. You create situations where treating you well is in their self-interest, and treating you poorly costs them something they value. Stop being fair to people who aren't fair to you. You are not their therapist, and you are not their emotional doormat. You are a force to be reckoned with. Emotional discipline, the ice in your veins. Most people confuse ruthlessness with anger. They think it's about lashing out, but that's the mark of a child. True ruthlessness is the opposite. It is an ironclad emotional discipline. Ruthless people don't get angry, they get strategic. They don't react emotionally, they respond with calculated precision. Your emotions are a liability, a weakness that can be exploited by anyone who knows which buttons to push. When you lose your composure, you hand your power over to the person who triggered you. Psychologically dominant people understand that emotions are information, not commands. They feel the anger, the frustration, the disappointment, but they don't let it control their actions. They ask, what response would be most damaging to my enemy's social standing while elevating mine? Maybe they ignore the attack, demonstrating that the attacker is beneath their notice. Maybe they respond with cold, factual correction that makes their attacker look foolish. The key is that their response is a deliberate choice, not an uncontrolled trigger. Machiavelli said, "Injuries should be inflicted all at once, so that their ills, savoring less, they may give less offense." When you must respond to a psychological attack, make it decisive and final. Don't engage in endless drama. Make one calculated move that ends the conflict in your favor. Master your emotional responses. Let others react while you strategically respond. Your emotional sovereignty is your greatest weapon. The power of being feared. Respect over likability. This is the ultimate truth that will shatter your people-pleasing programming. Being feared is infinitely more valuable than being liked. When people merely like you, they will take risks with your feelings because they assume you'll forgive them. When they respect your psychological strength, they will think twice before crossing you because they know there will be consequences. Likable people are safe, predictable, and easy to take advantage of. Psychologically dominant people are dangerous, unpredictable, and treated with caution. Machiavelli was brutally clear. It is much safer to be feared than loved if one has to lack one of the two. This doesn't mean you should be a tyrant. It means you must be someone others know they cannot disrespect without facing real consequences. It means having a reputation for being fair but formidable. Likable people say yes to requests they don't want to fulfill because they fear disappointing others. Dominant people say no without guilt because they prioritize their own interests. Likable people accept disrespect and hope it will stop. Dominant people address it immediately and decisively. Shift your mindset. Stop asking, will they like me if I do this? And start asking, will this action increase or decrease my social power? Stop trying to make everyone comfortable and become comfortable with their discomfort when it serves your interests. You are no longer competing for their approval. They are now competing for yours. Decisive action, the blow that breaks the enemy's will. Here is where most people destroy their influence. They make weak, repeated moves instead of strong, rare ones. Psychologically weak people constantly threaten consequences they never deliver. They give multiple warnings that train others to ignore them. Everyone knows they're all bark and no bite. Psychologically dominant people operate differently. They give fewer warnings, but when they act, their actions are decisive and unforgettable. Machiavelli said, if an injury has to be inflicted to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. In psychological terms, this means when you demonstrate your power, make it so clear and final that people understand not to test you again. When someone consistently disrespects you, don't keep asking them to stop. Act once and decisively. Maybe you publicly call out their behavior in a way that embarrasses them. Maybe you exclude them from something they value. The key is that your response is disproportionately strong compared to any single incident, but proportionate to the overall pattern of disrespect. This creates psychological impact. Others see that disrespecting you has real costs. Make fewer threats, but follow through completely when you act. Build a reputation for decisive action rather than empty warnings. Perception management, the illusion of power. This is the most sophisticated form of psychological warfare. You must understand that people's perception of you matters more than the objective reality of who you are. The naive believe that their value will be naturally recognized. This is a fatal mistake. People don't have the time or energy to investigate your character. They make snap judgments based on surface signals and social proof. If you don't actively manage how others perceive you, someone else will, and not in your favor. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. For the vast majority of people you encounter, your image is your reality. Your reputation is your power. Psychologically sophisticated people actively craft their image. They control the narrative before others can create it for them. This isn't about being fake. It's about being strategic in how you present your authentic qualities.
Your body language, voice tone, and social confidence all communicate your value before you say a single word. People treat you according to how you train them to see you. Control what stories people hear about you. Associate with high-value people to elevate your social status by proximity. Maintain some mystery about yourself so people fill in the blanks with positive assumptions. Project confidence, even when you feel uncertain, because confidence is contagious and uncertainty is repulsive. Your reputation is your most valuable asset. Cultivate it, protect it, and leverage it strategically. Narrative control, winning the war of stories. This is the ultimate power move. It's not just controlling what happens, but how what happens gets interpreted and remembered. Every situation can be framed multiple ways. The same action can be seen as leadership or arrogance, strength or aggression. The person who controls the narrative controls the meaning. The naive focus on their actions and ignore the story being told about those actions. This is a massive mistake. In human psychology, the story often matters more than the facts. Machiavelli observed, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality." People don't have time to investigate every situation. They rely on the simplified story they hear from trusted sources. Whoever controls that story controls what people believe. This means you must become a master at framing your actions in ways that serve your interests. When you succeed, you control the story of how you succeeded. When you fail, you control the story of what you learned. When others attack you, you control the counter-narrative. When you make a difficult decision that might be unpopular, frame it in terms of principles and long-term thinking, not self-interest. When someone tries to make you look bad, reframe their attack as evidence of their weakness or jealousy. Advanced narrative control means anticipating how your actions will be interpreted and getting ahead of negative interpretations before they take hold. Always consider not just what you're doing, but how it will be perceived. Shape the story before others shape it for you. Systematic consequences, the inevitability of authority. This is the most sophisticated form of influence. It doesn't rely on emotion, threats, or manipulation. It relies on creating predictable systems where certain behaviors automatically lead to certain outcomes. This is psychological mastery because it removes your personality from the equation. People can't argue with systems the way they argue with personal decisions. When you base your authority on getting angry or making threats, you give others control over your power. They can push your buttons and manipulate your emotions. But when you create systems where respect leads to access and disrespect leads to exclusion, you maintain complete psychological control. Machiavelli understood this. A wise ruler should rely on what is in his own control, not on what is in the control of others. Instead of arguing with people who don't respect your time, you simply become unavailable when they need you. Instead of getting angry at people who take advantage of your generosity, you quietly redirect your help to those who show appreciation. Instead of trying to convince people to treat you better, you create situations where treating you well benefits them and treating you poorly costs them. You don't announce this as a threat, you simply implement it as a natural system. People start modifying their behavior to maintain access to what you provide. Let natural consequences teach people how to treat you. Silent dominance, the ultimate power. Here is the final, most crucial lesson. True psychological dominance operates in silence. People who constantly talk about how tough or ruthless they are usually advertising what they wish they possessed. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real influence works behind the scenes. The most dangerous people in any room are often the quietest ones. They are observing while others are performing. They are calculating while others are reacting. They are positioning while others are posturing. Machiavelli captured this perfectly. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. There must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. This means you must be strategically intelligent and psychologically forceful. The key is to transition between these modes without telegraphing your strategy. Your competitors don't see your moves until it's too late to counter them. Your enemies don't realize you're undermining them until their influence has already crumbled. Silent dominance looks like this. You work on building influence without announcing your ambitions. You position yourself strategically without making your strategy obvious. You gather information about others while revealing minimal information about yourself. You build alliances that serve your interests without making the alliance obvious to your competitors. You undermine those who work against you without them realizing the source of their declining influence. This is not about being sneaky. It is about understanding that strategic discretion is more powerful than tactical transparency. Build your psychological empire quietly. Let others make noise while you make strategic moves. Demonstrate power through results, not through announcements. The brutal choice. Here is the final truth that will determine your destiny. If you don't master the dark psychology of human influence, someone who has mastered it will control your life. This is not a philosophical debate. It is a psychological war happening around you every day. Right now, while you've been learning these principles, someone is using them against people who don't understand them. Every day you delay implementing these lessons is another day someone more ruthless is building the influence and respect you want. You've been conditioned to think that learning these principles makes you bad. That's exactly what psychologically dominant people want you to believe. They want you to remain naive, predictable, and easy to manipulate while they operate with a sophisticated understanding of human psychology. The world doesn't need more naive people who finish last. It needs more people who understand psychological realities and use that understanding to build lives of genuine influence and unshakable confidence. The choice is yours, but choose quickly, because while you're deciding to become psychologically dangerous, dangerous people are already deciding what to do with you. The war for your influence has already begun. Are you ready to win?